We're going back to basics because coffee's expensive, but it doesn't have to be. Somewhere on the internet, there is a little tiny me telling a marketing group that my mother prefers tea to coffee. Now, I'd love to find that video, but that's not what this is about. My first memory of a sip of coffee is while I was standing in a cold Chicago unemployment line with my mother. She must have had a good amount of sugar in it because I remember thinking, this tastes pretty good. I remember giant cans of Hills Brothers coffee that my Aunt Ellie used to have in Texas. And while I can't explain it, for some reason I have a physiological reaction in response to Maxwell House coffee. And I'm like 90% sure it's related to my dad. During the pandemic, I'd reached out to the internet and asked anyone if they were getting rid of an espresso machine. I figured if I wasn't going to be going out for coffee anymore, I might as well learn how to make it. I had 2 tiny little people who lived with me and a little boy. While I don't discount the heartache that the pandemic brought us, for me, it was one of the most pivotal parts of the foundation that built our family to be as strong as it is. My husband worked from home, I was homeschooling and making masks, and if we're being honest, I enjoy being a recluse. One of the things that I learned about myself when we came out of the pandemic is I don't really require very much. I feel ridiculous paying for expensive cups of coffee, and really only try to support small businesses and only go through drive-through for my mental health. But when things slow down and life is easier, I care very much for the cup of coffee that I'm drinking. It's almost like a therapy and a gift to myself to be able to make a cup of coffee in this way. Not every morning is going to look like this. I have 3 bigger kids now, and life can be hectic. But even if I don't go through this song and dance of making a full raspberry syrup and taking time to use a pour-over instead of my Keurig, I still treat making a cup of coffee like it's a ritual, even if it's only under 3 minutes. I learned to spend money on things that make me feel happy for the end result. I invest my money in a higher quality coffee and feel good about it because I support a small business. I usually only use Monin syrups because I once saw that at a coffee shop and wanted to replicate it at my own home. And while $17 a bottle is expensive for me, $8 for 1 cup of coffee is way more expensive at the end of the day. I use the Costco brand oat milk because it's just as good as most other oat milks and it's affordable. And I also tend to grind my own coffee now. But sometimes I'll ground enough for 2 or 3 days, which most coffee connoisseurs will tell you is sacrilege. If you see me on the street and invite me for a cup of coffee, I will run with you to the nearest coffee shop. At this point, I'm starting to believe that coffee may in fact be a love language of mine. But whether you choose to have a cup of coffee with a friend or make yours at home, enjoy it. So go get your glass. We have drinks to make.